Yuki's sister makes food for him and then says, "Ah," and then from her own mouth feeds her brother. Of course, Yuki doesn't like this at all. He feels everything is disgusting from this. His sister gets offended. His sister has brought a girl. And last year on July 27th, from 32 seconds to 56 seconds, this girl looked at Yuki with her lustful eyes. So just for those 24 seconds, his sister is going to punish her. Damn. Yuki's sister cuts off her fingers. We see Yuki's sister shove a wine opener inside that girl's eyes. So, the story starts with Yuki, whose parents died in a car crash when he had graduated from high school. And after the parents passed away, Yuki only had his little sister left who took care of him. Or should I say, him. Before we move further, a warning. If you are eating food, don't eat. Yuki's sister makes food for him and then says, "Ah," and then from her own mouth feeds her brother, "Lucky." It looks traumatizing, but his sister is enjoying it a lot. She says, "Along with the food, my saliva is tasty too. Isn't it? Well, if someone fed me like this, I would eat 2 plates extra." Anyway, of course, Yuki doesn't like this at all. He feels everything is disgusting from this. His sister gets offended. How did you waste food made by your sister's hand? Now you will get punishment. Yuki tries to run away, but just then he falls there and he sees his sister has brought a girl. No. This girl is neither Yuki's girlfriend nor his friend. Yuki was in a club at school and this girl was the manager of that same club. And last year on July 27th, from 32 seconds to 56 seconds, this girl looked at Yuki with her lustful eyes. So just for those 24 seconds, his sister is going to punish her. Damn, we are only on the 6th page and already this much craziness? And to punish, Yuki's sister cuts off her fingers and that girl can't even scream. Her mouth is tied, she can only struggle like this. And guess what? Punishment is not over yet. Yuki's sister says, "You committed a crime because you had eyes. You looked at my brother with your eyes, right? So allow me to take them off for you." Yuki tries to stop his sister, but it's useless. Yuki knows if he stops his sister now, the next time his sister will target his friends. So because of this, Yuki can't do anything, and he has to watch all this. We see Yuki's sister shove a wine opener inside that girl's eyes. Bro, this panel right here, this is terrifying. You can see Yuki's sister doing this horrifying act while smiling. And behind Yuki, he can't do anything. He has to suffer just like this poor girl. Now after this, Yuki's sister says, "If you act like a good boy, then I won't hurt any of your friends." Then his sister goes, and Yuki goes to the washroom. Here, Yuki realizes that this is not the first time in his life this has happened. Yuki's sister has killed many of Yuki's friends in front of him. And also, Yuki has been enduring this for the past 5 years. In these 5 years, no one came to see Yuki. No one cared about him, bro. One random day, Yuki finds the gate of his house unlocked and he runs away. The boy becomes very happy that finally he has escaped. But happiness doesn't last long. Yuki's sister finds him very quickly. And just by looking at his sister, his condition becomes bad. His sister says, "Let's go home. You've been outside the house for too long." Poor Yuki, he got one chance, and is he going to waste that too? No. He sees behind his sister a truck is coming. Truck Quinn is here to clutch, and Yuki assists. Yuki runs and pushes his sister in front of the truck. Things are now finished. Finally, inner peace. But his sister drags him along with her. Damn, what a new person. Not even a single kill. But yes, the boy is satisfied with this outcome too. At least all his sufferings will end, and that's what happens. The boy dies. In front of him, goddesses appear who tell him, "You have died." And hearing this, the boy becomes so happy, like as if the goddess said, "Let's smash today." Now the goddess tells him, since your past life was very traumatizing, therefore in the next life, you will get special treatment like a very rich family, appearance, excellent talent, and also he will keep all his old memories and a lot of bonuses to make him happy. You know what she means. But yes, the next world in which he will reincarnate, it will not be Earth, of course. She also tells him that in the other world he can also meet his family. And the word family, Yuki asks, "My sister? Can I also meet my sister there?" And the goddess says, "Truth is, before you, your sister had already come, and I have reincarnated her into the same world where you are going to be. You mad woman." Yuki says, "I was finally thinking I got free, but you are sending me into the same world where she went." So he starts refusing that he doesn't want to reincarnate. But now the goddess herself cannot stop the process. But yes, she says she will protect Yuki. After this, Yuki is born in the other world as a baby. On that we will talk later. But is this goddess dumb? She should know. In Yuki's past life, his sister did such horrifying acts. Then why reincarnate her again? Anyway, Yuki is born in the other world, and here, his name is Jack. And this girl is the family maid. Her name is Nee. At first, Jack doesn't understand anything. Then slowly he realizes that yes, finally he has reincarnated into another world. After being born in another world, the first thing he does is drink his mother's milk, which his father becomes jealous. From Jack's mother and father's conversation, we find out that Jack's father is a very big pervert. Surely he must be reading erotic books. Anyway, Jack is very happy that he got such a family, but he knows he is not Jack. He is not their son, meaning someone else was supposed to be born, but the goddess Yuki instead of Jack. So now Jack decides he will become Jack. And unlike last time, he will not let his family be shattered. And to do this, Jack has to do just one thing. He must not become famous nor glam. He must live like an ordinary human, not talk about his past life, and not shout that I am a reincarnated human. But yes, he also knows there is a high possibility that his sister will find him here too. So besides hiding, he must also learn to defend himself. Now 3 weeks later, we see Jack can already fly. Bro is already standing out. Jack's mother says, at such a young age, manifesting spiritual art means our child is very special. Jack's father tells that he himself manifested this power at 4 years of age. And Jack did it in just 3 weeks, meaning Jack is special. So Jack's father decides he will personally train Jack so that Jack can do good for the world. And this is what Jack wanted to. He may be a child now, but still, the bro is dedicated that he will use this power and protect everyone from his sister. After some time, the family maid reads a book to Jack through which we find out how this other world was made. Inside this world, at first there was nothing. Then some gods decided they will create a king, and that became the first creation. Then that king used the god's ring to create second and third creation, which were water and laws of this world. Along with that, spirits also existed which people use in day-to-day life. Like that maid, she has the power of fire spirit, which she uses in cooking. In this world, there are total 72 spirits and 72 spiritual arts, and in every race, there are different spirits. And the power Jack has is called the Wings of Deserts. With this power, whatever Jack touches, he can make it weightless. Now, we are learning some lore of this world. We find out further that earlier in this world, Earth and Heaven were connected. People could freely come and go in any world. But with time, between people, language, and ideas clashed. So one spirit, Andrea Luffy's, bound humans on Earth with invisible chains. And this same Andrea Luffy spirit is inside Jack. That's why he can see the binding chains too. But yeah, he cannot control his power right now. So he ends up hurting the maid. Jack thinks he hurt her. But soon enough, he finds out that whatever thing he makes float, meaning makes weightless, that thing neither damages anyone nor takes damage itself. Slowly he discovers his powers, and he understands that if he wants to hurt anyone, he must first switch off his power on that object before it hits. For example, if he uses his power to make a phone float and throws it at someone, then just a second before it hits that person, Jack must switch off his power so that its weight returns and it hits with damage. While figuring this out, Jack's father sees him and becomes very happy that Jack learned to control his toys at such a young age. Now Jack finally turns 1 year old. His parents throw a birthday party. Many people come, and from here, trouble is about to begin. At the party, Jack's parents say to the maid, "You have been with us for so many years, but we don't even know about your parents." And she refuses. She says, "Whenever I am with Jack Sama, I feel he is someone very precious to me." You understand what this means? Now after the party, this maid takes Jack for a walk, and she is singing a song. Hearing this song, Jack recalls his past life because his sister used to sing a similar song. He sweats a little remembering her, but no, this is not that song. And just then he realizes this is not the regular path they usually take for walks. After this, the maid starts singing exactly that same song, word for word, that his sister used to sing. Jack's suspicion increases, and just then she says, "Finally, we are meeting again. It's been 15 years. Shock. The person he was grinding to run away from turns out to be his maid. And here comes my first point. Have you ever read such a Yandere manga where the Yandere character is so obsessed that even after dying, she reincarnates into the same world? Like, this is too much Yandere. In another life too, she will dominate. His sister says you will take your afternoon nap, and then you will wake up in your new home. And this time between you and me, no one will come. So that means she just kidnapped a baby. This is some Orochimaru level. After this, woman goes totally mad. Like, look at this manga panel. The craziness, the obsession is beyond compare. She says now we are not blood related, so we can have kids as well. She plans to make kids with a baby. In this panel, there are so many things. On the right is Jack's sister with a creepy smile, and on the left is Jack terrified. But yes, from an art perspective, I love this panel. The creepiness, the tension that is built here, it does justice to the character 100%. After this, we see another great manga panel. I am praising the art so much because we have understood that Jack's sister is Yandere, not a normal Yandere, but conqueror level. And these characteristics, they can be felt from looking at the manga panels. Anyway, after escaping from his sister, Jack thinks of going to his mansion, but it's no use. His sister is mad. she will kill everyone in the mansion. Jack again feels helpless, but then he recalls his powers and he decides he will fight back. Jack's sister comes here searching for him. We see Jack hiding in a tree. He is thinking, either I should throw some heavy object on her or make her float in the air and drop her with full force. Both are good plans, but Jack must do something quickly because his sister is burning the trees to hunt him.
She knows Jack is hiding in some tree. She uses her power to burn all the surrounding trees. Then she says, Jung Chun, come out. She threatens Jack, if you don't come out, I will kill your parents. Now I doubt in the past life too, she probably killed their parents. Anyway, now Jack flies from there and throws a big stone at her using his power, but his sister tears it apart, and the stone Jack threw stops in the middle. That happened because of his sister's hair. She can also use her hair strings. With this same attack, Jack is also caught, but this was his plan. Jack uses his power to make the air around him weightless, which drops the pressure. In short, wind will explode, and that's what happens. The fire in his sister's hand burns our own hand. She suffers a lot, and to end her suffering, she tears off her own hand and throws it away, saving herself from her fire. Another instance to show she is damn crazy. Now she is half burnt, but even in this state, she doesn't give up. Even now, she won't let Jack get away from her, and Jack also realizes that whether he is in this world or any other world, he cannot escape from his sister. Then she starts licking Jack. What kind of woman is this? Anyway, Jack has understood he won't survive. He can never run away from his sister, but then he senses some power inside him, and we see Jack has lifted a huge piece of land with his power. Seeing this, Jack's sister realizes Jack is actually a spiritual root. Spiritual roots are those people who have one of the 72 original spirits. Others also have spirits, but they are copies. The ones with original spirits are called spiritual roots. And now Jack's original spirit appears before him, the 65th original spirit, Sire Andrea Loafer. Now with the power of the original one, Jack drops that huge piece of land on his sister. Jack thinks game over. But looking at the sky, he sees his sister coming from above. She survived Jack's attack by exploding her own leg, and now she catches Jack. While falling, Jack sees a waterfall. This will be the best place to defeat a fire user. So Jack changes their route and both fall straight into the waterfall. But even after falling, his sister doesn't leave him. Jack throws a stone at her, but she breaks it with her saliva. She is even using saliva as an attack. But still Jack can't escape and he gets caught again. His sister again starts, I love you so much. I won't let anyone take you away from me. And just then she sees the water rising into the sky. Slowly, all the water from the waterfall gathers in the sky. This was actually Jack's plan. He knew after she caught him, she would start her nonsense. So Jack had already prepared her death. Now Jack makes his sister weightless and gives her 3 seconds to convince him, and she starts her yonder rant. But then 3, 2, 1, time's up. The water Jack had gathered from the waterfall, that huge amount falls all at once on his sister, and finally she dies. Jack finally killed the devil who ruined his past life and was also ruining this life, but still Jack doesn't understand why he is crying at his sister's death. Anyway, just then Jack's parents arrive. Jack faints. He fought a lot. After all, he is just a child. Now after this we see Jack's sister, who is talking about her brother. And she says, next time I will come with an even better plan. And she is not saying this to someone inside the story. She's saying this to us. Yes, to us. We see a character so crazy that she even breaks the fourth wall. And that is my second point now.
The quiet of the family gathering was broken by the opening door. There stood 2 children and a younger girl. One of the girls stepped forward with cheerful initiative. What's your name? She asked brightly. The man in front of the shy girl hesitated for a moment before speaking gently. He introduced the girl hiding behind him, her gaze fixed on the floor, her small hand clutching his tightly. Later, as the boy and the shy girl walked together, he commented on how rare it was for her to introduce herself, noting she usually avoided it. She offered only a soft, barely audible murmur in reply. They soon encountered the cheerful girl again. With a white laugh, she greeted them, then shared a quick whispered exchange with the first girl and the boy. My turn, she announced, beaming. My name is Fillion. alone. Elsewhere, in a sun-baked meadow encircled by tall trees, a man lay sprawled on the grass. He winced, remarking on the oppressive summer heat. The unsettling silence, the absence of cicada songs, was something he had never grown used to. In front of a sturdy brick house, 7-year-old Jack Lever stood reflecting. 7 years had passed since he reincarnated into this world. 7 years of intense daily training to master the power granted by the goddess, the wings of desertion. His current goal was jumping. He launched himself into the air, floating high above the ground. It wasn't true flight, he knew, but a simulation of it, using the wind as a foothold to make mid-air jumps. Theory, however, was easier than practice. He landed awkwardly, sitting hard with a pained expression. His record was only 2 successive jumps. He knew spiritual arts users who showed talent by 10 were prodigies. Those at 15 were geniuses. To already achieve what he had at 7 made him wonder if this was the special treatment the goddess had promised. Now, standing before the grand castle, Jack focused on his next ambition, admission to the Royal Academy of Spiritual Arts. Graduating from there would grant him significant influence, crucial for when he inherited his father's territory. Gritting his teeth, he recalled his harsh training and readied himself for the challenge ahead. Later, Jack stood in a room with his father in Cherno Ford, chairman of the Ford Company. Cherno praised Jack's exceptional politeness, a rare respect for his elders, and complimented his parents. Jack's father replied that Jack's manners were innate, not taught. Surprised but approving, Cherno mentioned he had brought his daughter, Filian, who was Jack's age but wild and difficult. Jack smiled, admitting she had arrived with him but vanished the moment he looked away. He offered to search for her. His father welcomed the idea, hoping Jack might be a good influence, and thanked him warmly. Jack modestly said it was no trouble. Exiting the room, Jack began his search down a long corridor. He wondered where she might have gone, considering asking the servants. He stopped before a set of grand doors, wondering if she had left the mansion entirely when he spotted 2 unfamiliar faces. Before he could act, his mother called to him. He turned to acknowledge her. She had heard he was searching for the young lady from the Ford family. They spoke by the slightly open door. Jack confirmed he couldn't find Filian inside, which is why he had come outside. His mother gently reminded him to be cautious and not stray too far. He acknowledged her concern and stepped past the door, descending the stairs. Moving further from the house, he found it curious. His mother rarely had guests. How did she know these people? Passing through the front gate by 2 stationed guards, he noticed something small to his left. A rabbit. He knelt, carefully picking it up, then spotted a hole in the wooden fence. A troubling thought crossed his mind. He hoped Filian hadn't gone through that gap. Soon, Jack arrived at the forest edge, calling her name with growing urgency. He looked up at the sky in exasperation and was met with a sharp impact. A startled cry echoed as a girl collided with him from above. Reacting instantly, Jack raised his hand and activated his ability, Wings of Desertion. The girl, now hovering slightly above him, looked stunned. What was that? She demanded, amazed at her sudden levitation. Why am I floating? Explain! Jack, steadying her, replied it was simply his spiritual art and cautioned her not to move too much. She winced, kneeling to clutch her leg in pain. Jack leaned toward her. Are you all right? Now more composed, she responded she was fine. I'm Filian Pos, daughter of Cherno. Jack asked to confirm if she was indeed Filian. Puzzled, she asked how he knew her name. Jack knelt formally. I am Jack, a child of the Lever family. I came to find you when you went missing from the mansion. Filian, sitting on the forest floor, accepted his introduction calmly. Then she questioned his motives. Why come all the way out here alone just to find her? It was dangerous. She pressed again, wondering his reasons. Jack admitted he'd forgotten, remarking that not every 7-year-old acted the way he did. He remained kneeling in thought, murmuring to himself. Filian suddenly stood, bursting with energy. She declared her own idea. They should play together. She hadn't seen a wide-open field nearby. Jack hesitated, declining and insisting they return. Without hesitation, Filian grabbed his hand and tugged him along. As she looked back with a soft expression, Jack's mind was swept by a familiar sensation. The warmth of his hand, the texture of his chestnut-colored hair, the way she turned toward him. It felt deeply nostalgic. A vivid memory surfaced. A girl pulling him by the hand long ago, asking for his name. The memory and present moment blurred for a second. As they walked, Filian turned to Jack. Join? She tried. Jack. she corrected gently. You're missing a K. Kuin Chi? Jack Lever. Filion repeated his name, testing it. Jack Cohen. He nodded. She laughed and returned to her original nickname, Jason. Jack gave up, muttering that since it was what she called him from the start, whatever. She continued laughing, repeating the name in amusement. Amused but curious, Jack asked what he should call her in return. Filion said he could call her Pill. Everyone else did. Jack accepted. Pill it is. After playing for a while, Jack suggested they return. Filion, distracted, exclaimed, Fluffy! Facing the trees, she gasped and pointed. Wow, look, that's so cool! She cried out, running ahead excitedly. She called back, encouraging Jack to come see. Jack warned that if she ran like that, she might. Before he could finish, Filion stumbled and fell with a small cry of pain. Jack hurried to her side. Are you okay? His words faltered as he looked down at where she had fallen. His expression turned to confusion. Filion sat up, stunned, realizing that she had slipped on something or someone. She turned to look and gasped. A corpse! Leaning closer, she called out to the figure, unsure if it was alive. Jack, concerned and cautious, moved closer. I'll check for a pulse. But as he reached out, the figure stirred, startling them both. Jack rose cautiously to his feet. Behind him, Filion lingered in fear, hesitating to move closer. His eyes locked onto the figure. A flicker of uncertainty passed through his face as he tried to understand what he was seeing. An elf. The creature began to rise, casting a tall shadow. Filion, unable to watch, turned away with a shriek, squeezing her eyes shut. Jack, alarmed and sweating, urgently called to her, Don't run off with me! His voice trembled as he turned back to the figure, his face twisted with apprehension. The creature's face slowly came into view. Long hair, elongated ears, an exhausted, solemn expression. Her lips parted weakly. I'm hungry, she murmured with heavy fatigue. Without warning, the elf began to collapse forward. Jack, still on the ground and too shocked to move, could only yell in protest as she fell onto him. She landed directly on top of him. Filion, stunned, stood nearby. Jack, are you conscious? She tried to reason with the elf. Can you please move? Lying beneath her weight, Jack, wide-eyed, slipped into a memory. Being 7 years old, alone on a summer day with no sound of cicadas, an oddly still moment now echoing in the present. Besides them, Filion smiled to herself, amused that a busty elf had collapsed right onto Jack. Jack, still pinned, muttered inwardly that their first meeting was warm. Later, back at the Lever residence, the elf sat at a long dining table loaded with plates. Towering piles of bread, meats, and other hearty foods surrounded her. She devoured everything as Jack's parents watched astonished. Jack sat nearby, silently observing, empty plates stacked quickly beside her. The elf let out a satisfied sigh, commenting it was a great meal, even as she reached for more. Filion, sitting beside her, blurted out that she was a total glutton. Her father, Cherno, chuckled, adding that this barely counted as breakfast for someone like her. Jack's father laughed, but pointed out it was an absurd amount of food. His mother, Malene, mentioned that when she asked Jack and Filion what happened earlier, both simply said they were lying down in a forest. The elf set down her utensils, sat upright, and formally thanked everyone for the meal. She introduced herself as Raquel, explaining she had left her home a while ago to embark on a journey, but had forgotten to consider how easily she might run out of food. Jack looked bewildered. How does that even happen? Filion, ever curious, leaned toward her. Why are you traveling, miss? Raquel paused briefly. If I had to put it into words, I am traveling to collect spiritual arts.
Though she admitted she wasn't entirely sure how to describe it. Jack's father, confused, pressed further. What did she mean by collecting? Cherno, intrigued, also asked her to elaborate. Raquel tilted her head thoughtfully. Instead of explaining with words, she raised her index finger. A small flame appeared at its tip. This technique is called Light of Dawn. Then she lifted her hand again, and a swirling current of water coiled around her palm. This is Ocean Hand. Jack's father stared in disbelief. How can you use two separate spiritual arts at once? Jack looked equally stunned. It wasn't supposed to be possible. Raquel calmly explained. For her, it was possible thanks to her ability, a spiritual art called Plunder of God's Will. Not Blender, she clarified, Plunder, a sacred art granted by the great spirit Fax, the guardian of theft. Jack's father, in awe, asked if this meant she could steal
steal other people's spiritual arts. Raquel corrected him gently. Not exactly. Her power didn't steal techniques, it allowed her to imitate them. The original user retained their abilities, but she could replicate them as her own. Jack was stunned. His thoughts raced. What kind of ability was that? Once she identifies a spiritual art, she can copy it simply by observing its user. It was completely unfair. Outright cheek. Jack's father faced her directly. So, by collecting, you mean you were traveling to learn as many spiritual arts as possible? Sitting calmly, the elf confirmed this. She believed if she kept going, she might eventually discover something she truly needed. Filion, curious, asked how long she had been on this journey. All eyes turned toward her. The elf answered without hesitation, about 80 years. Jack reacted internally, noting how casually she said it, as if talking about a few months. Elves really did have a completely different perception of time. Jack's father, slightly apologetic, said thank you and said sorry for bombarding her with questions. The elf smiled, reassuring him it was fine. She considered it a repayment for the meal. Jack leaned forward. Does one of the spiritual arts you've collected happen to include Wings of Desertion? Raquel paused, tapping a finger to her head. After a moment, she answered yes, she believes she had that one. The art that allows the user to reduce the weight of whatever they touch. Correct? Jack confirmed it was. Then Jack's father posed a new question. What were her plans from here? Raquel rested her hands on the table. She hadn't yet decided where to go next. Jack's father made a proposal. If that was the case, he had a request. Would she consider staying at their home for a while? Raquel blinked, surprised. Was he really offering that? She hesitated, concerned about overstaying her welcome, but Jack's father assured her not to worry. In return, he wanted her to train his son in using his spiritual arts. Jack, hearing this, nearly jumped from his seat in shock. He turned to his father. Isn't this a little sudden? His father calmly replied, asking if Jack didn't want it. After all, elves were incredibly skilled, and Raquel, having experience with Wings of Desertion, was an ideal mentor. With a playful tone, he added that, besides, who wouldn't want a cute girl like her as their tutor? He chuckled. Jack's mother, Melanie, raised an eyebrow and gently called out, "Dear." He quickly backtracked, saying it was just a joke. Raquel politely declined to give an immediate answer. She said she'd like to see Jack's skills first. Only then would she decide. Jack stared at her for a moment. A smirk crossed his face. He'd show her. Filion gasped in awe as Jack demonstrated his power. "So cool," she exclaimed, watching him lift a heavy object high into the air. Raquel observed silently, deeply impressed. A child his age lifting something of that weight. Could he be the spiritual vessel of Andrea Lufus? She muttered to herself. This level of output, I had never seen it before. As Jack held the object aloft, he proudly stated that all his previous teachers had quit after realizing he was more gifted than they were. He turned to Raquel. Well, what do you think? Raquel responded with a calm expression. I see. He's very promising. Then, without warning, she leapt into the air. Jack looked up in shock. She was jumping again and again. How? His mind reeled. It should have been impossible. Still mid-air, Raquel swooped down and grabbed Jack from behind, lifting him up. He cried out in surprise as they rose together, facing the mass he had suspended. Raquel's expression was serious. You think you're a genius, don't you? Your output is amazing, but you lack control. Flustered and panicked, Jack protested. Okay, I get it. Please let me down. Raquel held him firmly. If you truly want something from me, you'd better address me properly. Fine, I get it. Please let me go. Master. Raquel smirked, then released him. She floated down and looked him in the eyes. My name is Raquel. From today onward, I'll be your teacher. Pleased to meet you, Jack.
Jack's world narrowed to the strain in his arms and the weight on his back. Raquel, the elf, sat atop him as he struggled through push-ups.
Oh my god!
Her demeanor cool and unyielding. He grunted in protest, muttering a frustrated complaint about not being used to such exertion and calling her an evil elf. Her response was an unflinching command to call her master. Then her tone shifted, becoming pointed and serious as she asked him why he even wanted to become stronger. The question struck a deep chord. Memories, sharp and painful, surged to the surface of Jack's mind. He saw his sister's cruel smile, the destruction of everything he had ever loved, the systematic erasure of his treasured past. A raw scream of frustration tore from him as he pushed through the pain. He shouted his hatred for his own helplessness, his incompetence, his inability to protect anything. Raquel listened in silence, then her voice softened. She told him she understood and reassured him that he would be okay. He looked up, surprised by the gentleness in her tone. She promised to train him properly. Just then, a small procession of rabbits appeared, each performing a specific task. One dragged a chair, another opened a basket, a third arranged plates, and the last poured water into a cup. Following them was Phylon, who cheerfully called out to Jack. Raquel observed, impressed, noting that Phylon's ability to command animals had improved dramatically, though it seemed less like command and more like friendship. Jack recalled how Phylon, after seeing him train, had insisted on joining them, becoming another student of Raquel's with her father's permission. Phylon beamed at Raquel's praise, proudly declaring that she was amazing too. Jack couldn't help but notice how much nicer Raquel seemed when interacting with Phylon. His thoughts were interrupted as Phylon approached him shyly. Hesitantly, she asked if he would walk with her at the upcoming Harvest Festival, handing him a slip of paper. Confused, Jack asked what it was for, causing Phylon to panic. Her face flushed with embarrassment, she threw herself to the ground, pleading with him not to look at it and scolding him angrily. Jack, still puzzled, wondered aloud if one of the rabbits had brought it. A brief memory flashed, explaining the festival's significance. Donald was an agricultural region that hosted it every autumn. What began as a small local event had grown into a major attraction, drawing tourists from across the Kingdom of Re. Back in the present, Jack, visibly shocked by the request, agreed to go with her, noting he had planned to attend anyway. But Raquel immediately objected. Her voice was sharp as she reminded Jack of his goal to become stronger. Her words triggered another rush of thoughts in Jack's mind about the demanding timeline of spiritual arts. Prodigies at 10, geniuses at 15, competence by 20. Raquel pointed out he was only 7. Do you really have time to waste playing around? She pressed. Seeing Phylon's quiet disappointment, Raquel relented slightly. She stated that rest was part of training, and if Jack could complete all the day's objectives, she might grant him a day off. Jack, taken aback, started to confirm the offer, but before he could finish, Raquel moved with blinding speed and slammed him into the ground. Dazed, he muttered in confusion, realizing he had tried and failed to activate his wings of desertion technique in that split second. Standing over him, Raquel explained the lesson. The key was instantaneous activation. Even immense power was useless if it couldn't be summoned in time. Currently, it took him 1.5 seconds, long enough for a professional to draw a blade and cut his throat. His new goal was to reduce that time to 0.2 seconds. He wouldn't pass today's training until he did. As he internalized this, he wondered if it was better to grow up faster. He turned to Phylon, smiled gently, and patted her head, reassuring her they would walk together at the festival. Training resumed with Jack riding a large animal, shouting for it to wait as he struggled to stay on. Phylon cheered from the sidelines, and Raquel offered rare praise. Another trainer, DF, questioned why Jack was fooling around. Jack protested, begging to know the objectives beforehand instead of being ambushed. Another memory surfaced, a visit long ago to a distant island village that worshipped Andreas. They practiced a unique martial art incorporating the wings of desertion, a technique Jack had inherited. They told him it was more than negating gravity. It possessed the power to affect the world itself. Jack now pondered this, understanding he needed to alter forces like pressure, gravity, and inertia in concert. If he only eliminated gravity, he would just float. But if he could also suspend inertia, even a sharp turn wouldn't throw him. This, he realized, was Raquel's true lesson. Raquel explained that once his body learned to activate spiritual art naturally, he could respond instantly to any situation. She revealed the technique she had used: swallow, a high-speed movement, an albatross, an airborne leap. She assured him that with training he could master them. Determined, Jack promised himself he would. His concentration was cut out by Phylon's excited voice as she announced the return of a doggy. Jack blinked in confusion at the term. Then Raquel posed a direct question to him, forcing another moment of introspection. Jack lay on the ground, accepting the reality of a situation. A child with an adult's intelligence, blessed with power but lacking the instinct to wield it. He made a vow to himself. He would do it. He would give everything to this training. The scene shifted to the rocky highlands where 3 silhouettes stood against the sky. Raquel rode on Jack's back, and Phylon sat on top of her own mount. Raquel announced an arrangement with Phylon, while Jack mentally added that since he had endured merciless training from an instructor who might as well have been a demon. They reached the summit of a ragged mountain, a barren peak surrounded by sharp outcroppings and sheer drops. Phylin, her face etched with concern, asked if Jack was all right. As Phylin stepped onto a narrow ledge, waving cheerfully, and Jack tried to catch his breath, Raquel, without warning, shoved Jack from behind. He staggered forward and slipped off the edge. Phylin gasped in horror as Jack flailed midair, his expression one of stunned disbelief. Just before plummeting, he managed to grab the cliff's edge, clinging desperately as he stared up at the elf. His face screamed the silent question, "Are you trying to kill me?" Raquel, perfectly calm, met his gaze and explained that such surprise tactics were now part of his training. Jack processed the absurdity, then lost his grip and tumbled down the mountainside, crashing through underbrush into the dense forest below. As he fell, he reflected silently, "Still, I kept pushing forward." Later, deep within the forest, Jack was mounted on an animal racing along a woodland trail. He commanded it to turn left and it darted sharply. A cluster of rocks collapsed right where they would have been. Raquel observed from the distance. At a critical moment, Jack was separated from his mount, landing hard on the grass. Facing him, Raquel delivered her assessment. "Your activation time is now 0.5 seconds. Jack gritted his teeth in frustration. He tried to call out to Phylin, but Raquel interrupted. "You're allowed to go." He froze, unsure of her meaning. "The festival," she clarified. "You can go." As he stared, confused, she explained her reasoning. She had been pushing him hard because his rate of development was several times faster than other children his age. He was learning 3 times quicker than she had anticipated. As a teacher, her first priority was her student. Jack looked toward Phylin, thinking to himself that he couldn't leave her behind. Now standing side by side, both Jack and Phylin looked stunned. Raquel offered a faint smile and declared that they should all go to the festival together. A sound of pure surprise escaped Phylin, then joy lit up her entire face as she threw her arms around Jack in a tight hug, celebrating they could go. Jack, beaming, looked at Raquel and thanked her sincerely. "Thank you, Master." Raquel watched them, a warm smile on her face, as Phylin clung to an excited Jack.
Night had fallen by the time they arrived at the mansion, where the Harvest Festival was in full swing. The courtyard was alive with energy, laughter, voices, music, and colorful stalls lined the paths. Vendors bustled and children darted between booths with wide eyes. A little girl whispered to her mother that it seemed even livelier than the year before. Jack and Phylin wandered through the vibrant night scene. They passed a woman demonstrating sword techniques to an applauding crowd and another group admiring a majestic tree illuminated by lanterns. Phylin glanced around, wondering aloud where Raquel had gone. She suggested an eating contest might have drawn the elf away, and Jack agreed it was a good theory. When he turned to speak to her, he found Phylin had wandered off. He spotted her standing near a stall, trying to peer inside. He asked what she was doing, and she brushed it off casually. Jack looked into the shop, and his eyes were drawn to a display of cute hair clips. He asked if she wanted one. Her reaction was startled and defensive. She claimed she wasn't that kind of girl. Hesitantly, she admitted people told her to act more laid back, but it wasn't who she was, so she didn't need a hair clip. Without a word, Jack stepped forward and bought one. Phylin watched, visibly surprised, as he gently tried to place the clip in her hair. He spoke with calm encouragement, suggesting that if she ever wanted to explore a different side of herself, a good place to start was in how she presented herself. He asked her to lean forward, and she complied hesitantly. When the clip was in place, she caught its reflection and stared in awe. She mumbled that it didn't suit her, especially since it was pink. Jack reassured her, telling her she looked great and that with her cute face, she could pull off anything. He paid the vendor, then invited her to continue walking. They held hands and started down the street together. Phylin, looking at Jack, asked if he really thought she was cute. Flustered, Jack avoided the question by tapping her forehead and urging her to keep moving. She protested playfully, accusing him of teasing her. Unbeknownst to them, the elf was tailing them. Without warning, he leapt on Jack's back, startling him. The elf immediately sniffed Jack and questioned how much alcohol he had consumed. Jack denied drinking, but the elf responded skeptically, saying that was exactly what a drunk person would say. He added that he had looked forward to the festival, but was beginning to doubt Jack's behavior. Jack teased that maybe the elf only came to enjoy the event himself. The elf retaliated by grabbing Jack's cheeks and stretching them into a silly silly expression. Then, his tone turned sincere. He admitted Jack had grown stronger and was truly improving. He confessed that when first asked to train Jack, he assumed Jack was just another immature kid with a bit of promise. Jack was surprised, having never realized that was the initial impression. The trio continued wandering until they came upon a musical performance. Entertainers played in the street, filling the air with rhythm and energy. Philin, utterly delighted, bounced with joy and suggested they enjoy themselves more. She turned back to Jack with a bright, excited face, encouraging him to keep exploring. Jack, caught off guard by her enthusiasm, agreed, asking her to stop pulling him so hard. As Philin gleefully led the way, Jack followed, both amused and cheerful. The elf watched them from behind, a quiet smile creeping onto his face, pleased with how the evening was unfolding under the glow of the festival lanterns, the night alive with promise and the echoes of music weaving through the crowd.
The night at the mansion finds Jack questioning Callum about the Crimson Cats. Callum, surprised Jack hasn't heard of them, decides to explain for everyone's safety, adding he has already discussed countermeasures with Mr. Postford. He describes the group as a bandit faction that has terrorized the region for years, a band of looters and kidnappers who act with impunity. Reports suggest a membership of 30, prideful in their strength. Their leader, Callum reveals, is likely a first-class spiritual user and a woman. Jack listens intently. Callum advises against going out at night and to stay cautious even in daylight, reporting any suspicious activity to an adult. Given the late hour, he insists Mr. Postford and Fien stay over. Fien is thrilled at the prospect of a sleepover. Later, Jack bathes, lost in thought about recent events. Fien asks what he wants to do, and Jack bluntly tells her he wants her off of him. Rail instructs them to bathe first, calling them dirty. Fien proposes bathing with Rail, but Jack refuses, asking if she's forgotten he's a man. Rail tells him to worry about that when he's 100 years older, leading Jack to muse that elves have a different sense of time. After Fien and Rail wash and exit the bath, they reconvene in the bedroom. Fien announces that she, Jack, and Rail will all sleep together. Jack notes she doesn't act like someone about to get into bed as she leaps onto the fluffy mattress. In the dark, Jack turns off the light. Fien hugs Rail, commenting on her warmth, and Jack feels a strange sense of family. At his request to move over, Rail tells him to go ahead. The warmth makes him feel safe, and Rail's sweet scent relaxes him, stirring a desire to be closer. He accidentally grabs her breast. Rail calls him a pervert and promises tomorrow's basic training will be 10 times harder. Fien shouts that she just wants to have fun. When Fien asks what's happening, Rail states Jack was touching her melons, prompting Fien to also call him a pervert. Jack insists it wasn't intentional. A friendly back and forth ensues between Jack and Fien. Rail smiles, saying it's nice they're having fun as childhood friends. She promises they'll grow up together and walk side by side. Jack, however, doubts the specialness of it, wondering if it's because he had childhood friends in a past life. Fien states Rail is a childhood friend because they are friends, and Rail agrees. Fien adds she loves him. Rail asks Fien what she likes about Jack. Fien says he always shares his sweets, likes playing and walking with her, making Jack think she's describing a pet. She adds that when they're together, Jack is very kind. Jack is pleased, and Rail agrees he seems to like her, though he questions it internally. Rail then asks if Fien wants to marry Jack when she grows up. Jack feels shy, thinking it's a direct question that would make any kid uncomfortable. Fien hesitates, shaking with anxiety, before shyly answering yes. Rail pats her head, advising her to become a good bride. Fien joyfully tells Jack to be a good husband, prompting him to ask if they are really going to get married. Fien becomes giddy, hugging her pillow and kicking her legs. Jack lets it go and they fall asleep. Later, Fien quietly wakes Jack. He gets scared when she slips under the blanket, bringing them close. She tells him to be quiet and he asks if she wants to talk. She reminds him he should be getting a gift soon. Jack explains Rail told him it would strengthen him and wanted to give it tomorrow. Fien suggests getting something for Rail in return, thinking it might make her happy. They promise to go shopping on their next day off. Fien then asks if Jack meant what he said earlier about trying to be a good husband, mentioning she overheard a maid say something. She kisses him and says couples should do that. Jack asks if they really should, and Fien says yes, telling him to remember it. Jack dreams of his old life. It is snowing. Someone and his sister build a snowman together, wanting to celebrate. Jack just stares as they celebrate, remembering that's what happens on TV. The next morning, Jack and Fien wake to find Rail gone. They exchange shy good mornings, an awkward tension between them. Jack breaks it by suggesting Rail is probably not there, and Fien asks where she is. Leaning in awkwardly, he laughs. Fien holds his hand and says it's okay. Just as they are about to kiss, Rael enters the room with a cheerful greeting, startling them. Jack claims he might still be half asleep, to which Rael says he's slacking off, and if she were an assassin, he'd be dead. Jack asks for forgiveness. Rael answers Fien's question about where she went, explaining the present she mentioned is ready, so she'll go retrieve it. She'll be back in the afternoon, so they can do whatever they like until then. After Rael leaves, Jack wonders what the present could be. Fien, still shy, asks if they should start over. Jack says to leave it for later, and she accepts. He worries so much has happened that his opinion of her might change, then realizes he truly does have a soft spot for her. Fien happily notes Rael won't be back until afternoon, so they should go out. Jack objects, but Fien reminds him they need to get Rael a gift. He remembers, agrees, and suggests getting it before she returns. Suddenly, Jack is lying on the cold floor of a castle cell at night. He wakes as Fien tries to rouse him. He panics, asking about this place, if it's a stone prison. A young boy's voice says he finally woke up, asking if they've forgotten things. Jack questions their arrival. The boy explains they went to the market to buy a gift for Rael, and both lost consciousness after buying a drink from a shady person. Jack concludes the drinks were drugged. They were kidnapped. Fien asks if he broke a plate. Jack states the crimson cats, whom his father warned about, must have taken them. Fien says she remembers now, her mind having been preoccupied with Jack earlier. Jack thinks this is true. He got carried away and was hit hard. He remains calm, perhaps due to past experiences with imprisonment from his sister. Jack asks the boy if he was also kidnapped. The boy says they were attacked unexpectedly and couldn't defend themselves, adding the other kids have been there for a week. Jack worries upon seeing their wounds. The children grow agitated as someone arrives. Jack wonders what they're inspecting. The newcomers look ripped and muscular, and Jack understands what his father meant. He believes the spiritually adept female chieftain is among them. The chieftain compliments Jack's noble bearing, saying he might sell well. Jack realizes she has identified him as a noble by appearance. Her acquaintance asks how many people she will be processing today. The chieftain orders him to start the casino. Jack wonders how a casino could exist in such an abandoned place. A guard selects him, Fien, and another boy. The selected boy shouts he doesn't want to go, begging for mercy. The chieftain, annoyed, kicks and throws the boy when he pleads to do anything else. Jack wonders what happened, thinking he saw the chief forcefully put her hand in her pocket, but saw no sign of her touching the boy. He wonders if it's a spiritual art and what kind. The chieftain then menacingly asks Jack if he's afraid or too stupid to understand the situation, given his calm demeanor. Jack replies with a smile that the smell of the old hag is too much, and he's struggling to breathe. He clarifies he's talking about her, abbreviating that she is a shitty old hack. Enraged, the chieftain hits Jack, sending him flying. She rages that she is Vicky, the blood leopard, chieftain of the Crimson Cats, and anyone who mocks her will taste their own blood. After Vicky leaves with her ally, Fien checks on Jack. He gets up without a scratch, saying he's fine, that he was floating when attacked. He thinks Vicky's foot kicked the floor, not using her arms or legs, so the impact came from a different direction. He notes Fien was quiet, so he thought she might do something unnecessary. Fien says she was scared. Jack asks if she really gets scared, and Fien exclaims that she does. Jack holds her mouth and orders her to quickly notify Rael and his father of the bandit hideout. Fien accepts. The boy asks how they will do it. Jack says he will see, and Fien calls for birds. Small birds enter the cell, surprising the others. Fien tells them to find Rael and the mansion. Jack explains to the cellmates that he asked Fien to use her spiritual powers to communicate with the birds for help, which may arrive in an hour and a half. The cellmates are thrilled. Jack states he has several emergency contact methods for Rael and is sure she'll respond immediately, calling her a spiritual arts department store. The boy introduces himself as Benny. Jack tells Benny and the others to listen, announcing he expects a rescue team organized by his dad in an hour and a half. He adds he will first remove them from the cell. He asks Fien if she understands why they must do this. She considers, and Jack agrees with her thought that the bandits may take prisoners hostage when help arrives. He pats her head because she asked for it. Benny asks where they are. Jack says he's confused but relaxed, wondering if he knows more about spiritual arts than he suspects. Fien shouts that they are Justice's heroes. Jack asks why she said that. She explains Rael told her Jack wants to be a justice hero and is training in spiritual arts. Jack worries about Rael's teaching teachings but decides to roll with it, confirming they are Justice's heroes. He declares he will remove all the Crimson Cats, then remove Fien, Jack, and Benny from the cell. He says he didn't expect the chieftain to greet them personally, calling it VIP treatment. Vicky states that's good, and it's okay for him to talk now as he may never get to again. Jack thinks that with the underlings he and Fien could have fought, but with 10 kids things change. They must first learn their strength, the geography, and the enemy's intelligence. He sees a map and starts speculating. The place looks like an abandoned fort, built hastily with dead space everywhere, like a maze. While being taken to the casino by stairs, Benny has trouble breathing. Jack worries as they arrive, seeing dangerous-looking men outside. Chieftain Vicky shouts at them, calling them bastards and announcing the Ret is here. Everyone cheers. Jack wonders about the hype. Someone pushes him, and he sees a bound pig awaiting death on all fours. Vicky tells a guy to practice before the show. An announcer says they will be blindfolded and swing a machete to cut off a body part. Vicky shouts that all bets, except the dividend parts, are theirs if the target is hit according to the odds, but boar killing is wrong. Jack is terrified, wondering if they are insane and will split their watermelon. The group chants that they are thieves who silence crying children and steal. Someone claims hands or feet, balls or ears, right and left, telling the player to choose as he cuts a boar's arm. The boar screams in pain and bleeds. Jack asks Vicky if she's sure, as the guild joyfully chants. He also asks if she'll damage the products before even selling them. Vicky screams that that's fair, adding customers have preferences. Some want a new girl with no scars, while sadists won't buy unless a limb is blown off. She wonders who would buy from bandits like them anyway. They examine a wooden stand with most body parts spiked. Vicky says she advised the guy to avoid it, calling it a bad hobby, but since the vegetable grower wants to make scarecrows, they let him use the scraps. She says the crows came for the meat instead of being scared. Jack then believes they are like his sister. He insists these people cannot be forgiven. Guild members store the hog for the main show. Vicky leaves Jack, calling him a cocky brat, for the main course. She points at Benny, saying he will pass for an appetizer. Benny gets scared and begs them not to do it, running around a corner. Fien asks Jack if he won't help Benny. Jack says the situation is bad. As expected, he can't handle them alone with all these people. A massive attack with spiritual power could turn the tables but would endanger Benny and the others. Vicky kicks Benny, threatening to deprecate him despite his cries to stay away. She sends him to the torture table with her kicks. Jack realizes and hypothesizes about her spiritual art. He believes Vicky's art is the sacrament's flaw, the spiritual art of instantaneous movement, the ability to travel without stopping and ignoring obstacles. The Crimson Cats rejoice, calling it the Bloody Leopard's strongest power, Sacrament's Whole. Jack is skeptical because Sacrament's Whole is a spiritual art only 1 or 2 people can master. Even the Academy rarely has anyone like this. If someone can move a whole person, they're an expert master, and he can't believe a bandit could be so powerful. Benny cries for help, bound to the torture table. Jack grimaces, having been waiting for a moment to resist such evils. That's when Fien calls him. He knows when someone is about to suffer, he needs strength. He considers if they have a small opening and looks at the scarecrow. Vicky starts the show, ordering the guild to sing the Crimson Cat song. The members respond. As the song ends, the executioner strikes. However, crows appear and attack the executioner, disrupting the event. Vicky, angered, asks what this is and who they are. Jack tells Fien to let the crows run wild. Fien asks for his strength. Jack and Fien find an opening, and Jack quickly frees Benny from the torture table. Jack screams that it's bad because he can't remove it completely. Fien agrees. Jack says he'll take Benny. Vicky is furious at their mischief as the crows attack the Crimson Cats. With blood-stained eyes, she grits her teeth and calls them brats in anger. Jack uses spiritual arts to float himself, Fien, and Benny's table. Fien asks if they should go back to the other kids. Jack replies no. They will head towards the city to appear to have escaped, then descend back to the fort. He wants the cellmates to stay put so he can help everyone escape. Benny's table breaks afterward. He asks why he isn't hurt. Jack explains he floated him and broke the table. Benny thanks him, but Jack says not to thank him yet because he will help the others and risks getting caught alone, so Benny will come with him. Jack feels something strange when he looks at the boat and zones out. Fien asks what happened. Jack says it's nothing. He makes Benny float as they move to rescue the others. Benny apologizes for his weakness. Jack says he does this every day, so not to worry. Upon arriving, Jack asks Benny if this is the prison window. Benny says yes and asks what to do. He is shocked when Jack breaks the steel window with his spiritual art. Benny asks how. Jack explains that when he floats an object, its structural power disappears. He pulled a piece of stone out while the pressure was gone, but a stone structure won't collapse from removing one block because they are bound together. Benny, amazed, replies that they are justice heroes. Jack calls the cellmates as Fien smiles proudly. Jack tells Fien to scout the enemy territory. Fien says she's already done that, and a rat appears. Jack says everything is set to leave, which is good. He's having Fien's rats check corners for hostiles first. They are scouts using a safe signal. Breaking through the wall with fledged transparent wings is the shortest route, but leaves a huge trail because the abandoned fort is too big. He anticipated fights, but hasn't had one yet. Jack turns a corner while running and sees Vicky waiting terrifyingly. He narrowly avoids her punch. He can't believe it because the rat signal said it was safe. He recalls Sacrament's hole and assumes she teleported after seeing the rat spying. Vicky attacks again, calling them naughty brats and yelling if their parents haven't taught them anything. Jack dodges, smiles, and says he figured out her techniques. He makes Vicky float and kicks her, sending her ricocheting down the hallway. Vicky hits a wall to stop. Jack reveals her attack is instantaneous hand and foot teleportation. Vicky angrily grinds her teeth, saying she will tear him apart and sell him to the worst of the worst. Jack orders the cellmates to retreat. As they do, he looks for a place to hide, choosing a room through a door. Inside, Jack says the map he memorized indicates this room can hide more than 10 people. Cellmates examine the dusty, abandoned room and question its condition. Jack wonders if the junk is to blame and realizes it's much smaller than on the map. He tells them to hide and stay in the shadows until he says otherwise, thinking it's good because they can hide behind many things. He and Fien hide in a wooden container. Fien whispers it's like yesterday. Jack says no kissing. Fien says she knows. They hear footsteps and humming in the room. Memories of his sister's torture surface whenever he hears humming. He tells himself 3 times that it's okay, that he needs to know if he's doing something wrong, and to be careful because the opponent is evil scum like his sister. Even the slightest mistake would be fatal. Fien sneezes. Jack looks at her scarily. She apologizes. He breathes deeply and apologizes for his nervousness. She hugs him, telling him not to worry because she is with him. He says he got tense, but she says it's okay. The visitor leaves, humming. Jack recognizes a man and wonders where Vicky is. Fien asks what they should do now. Jack thinks and says Vicky knows they're back at the fort, so no matter how fast they run, they'll never get away from her. Fien suggests they still run while hiding. Jack says that won't work. He asks how Vicky found their exact location, saying she shouldn't have been able to arrive at such a precise time. He realizes they're being watched and wonders how they're communicating. They have always been moving, so to get ahead, the enemy must have transmitted their exact location at high speed. He wonders if the void hole transmits sound. He feels stuck while Fien is silent. He realizes he has to fight her, but they lack offensive power. Fien suggests she and Jack draw Vicky in together. Jack says Vicky will run away when she realizes they are decoys. Fien is confused, asking how he decides where she'll go with instantaneous movement. Jack thinks. The book he read didn't say much, and Rail hasn't taught him how to counter each spiritual art. He guesses if one imagines where they're going, they'll teleport. Fien asks if that's scary, saying someone might bump into a wall. Jack tells her the void hole connects 2 places, so Vicky can't move if the space is too small. He is startled by a knock on the door. Vicky kicks it open and shouts. Jack asks how she got in and orders the others out. He believes they are tracking him, so he uses wings of desertion to block the door with junk. Vicky screams to open up, calling them shitty brats. Jack calls her a muscular bitch for hitting the door. He commands the others to come to him and breaks the door with a spiritual art, telling them to run. As they run, Vicky breaks through the door, and she and Jack are together. Vicky looks like a monster. Benny helps Jack escape. Vicky attacks quickly. Jack orders Fien to act. Narrowly, some crows and bricks attack Vicky and hit her. The brick attack injures her mouth, causing blood to flow. The wall crumbles and falls on Vicky, but the 3 are narrowly safe. Benny hugs Jack after he tells Fien she saved him. Benny gets overwhelmed, and Jack thinks he was scared because his heart was racing. He agrees with Fien that they must leave because Vicky is still there and runs away. As he runs, Jack wonders why Vicky was held up by a barricade. He thanks and orders Fien to inspect the abandoned fort with her rats, telling her to do everything without missing a detail. Vicky, safe in the fort, yells at them, calling them little bastards. She questions why such little kids are causing so much trouble. She mentions a deal with a girl will be made next morning, so they must catch these brats before then, which may require an all-nighter. She wonders who Jack is, as he seems so spiritually trained. She reads a paper and doesn't think much of it. She excitedly asks if someone is there after being told to get Jack through the guild. She calls for Jack and Fien. After feeling hesitant upon seeing them, Jack asks what she wants. Vicky asks where the other kids went. Jack laughs it off, asking if she can't find them with her instantaneous movement. Vicky realizes Jack is up to something after hearing this, so she pulls out a huge knife and laughs hysterically. She shouts that she knew his spiritual arts only work on things he can touch, so she wouldn't float after attacking with weapons like this. Jack responds by drawing a sword, saying he must attack. Vicky wonders if he brought it from a warehouse after seeing it. His stance isn't amateurish, and his spiritual arts must have removed the long sword's weight. Vicky doesn't like it and knows Jack has a promising future, so she screams she needs to kill him once and for all and attacks with Void Hole. She's surprised when Jack doesn't care and blocks her attack. She blocks Jack's attack and notices his sharp movement like a billiard ball. She knows this is a spiritual art that erases weight but isn't worried. She calls the thing too light, saying Jack is a spiritual arts genius but a child without enough muscle strength for weight. Weight determines which wins when two things collide. She thinks Jack is reversing the sword weight only when slashing as a countermeasure, but it won't defeat her. Vicky carefully notices Jack's crazy trajectory but similar speed to the wildings. She blocks his sweep and jumps. Vicky taunts Jack, asking what happened and why he's taking so long to repeat it. Is he waiting for anyone? She wonders if he's stalling and if the other kids will run away if he gets her attention. Jack replies with a maybe. Vicky sways her hand, saying it's useless. She knows where they are and the void hole makes it irrelevant how far they go. Jack says he supposes so, but only if her void hole can be used. She should find their locations. He suggests she chase them instantly. Vicky is shaken that he knows her secret. Someone asks where the kids are and is shouted at by Vicky to get their asses there. Jack says she fooled him by instantly transporting Benny to the torture table and appearing in the hallway during the search, so he thought she could travel anywhere. Calmly thinking about it is strange. In both cases, they did not witness the instantaneous transport of an entire person. She was stopped by a barricade in the storeroom when she found them. She used her muscles to break it. Jack wonders why Vicky didn't use Void Hole to enter. Vicky feels overwhelmed. Jack asks if she can't answer. He states she can't move a person instantly. She can only make a fist-sized hole with Void Hole. Vicky nervously asks what, sweating profusely, about to reveal the proof. Jack replies it was a trick. When Vicky asks about her instantaneous transfer to the torture table and sudden appearance without Void Hole, she is surprised. Jack says it was a child's trick unfit for the Crimson Cat's leader, but he fell for it because he's a kid. She didn't notice Benny's hands had changed before and after he was teleported. Fien praises Jack and adds that Benny was throwing rocks with his left hand before being teleported, but now with his right. Vicky yells they can explain it. He must have been using the wrong hand or is ambidextrous. Jack says no. He found a bandit secret only she and Benny would know. Benny's heartbeat was directly over his heart when he hugged him after escaping. Jack asks if that's normal, since Benny's heartbeat was on the right. Vicky gets tense. Jack goes on, calling it situs inversus. He explains Benny's heart was on the right because some people are born with reversed organs like mirror images. Benny's heart was on the left before the instantaneous shift. He saw Benny clutching his left pectoral like he was holding his heart on the way to the casino. He didn't know it then, but Benny held his heart to calm his nerves before the big game. Some people can use the non-dominant hand or are ambidextrous. Thus, Jack asks Vicky if she can change her heart's position. He says no, she can't unless someone else replaces her. He calls them mirror twins. The story goes that some twins are born symmetrical like mirror images. Like Benny, their bodies and contents are sometimes reversed. If one is righty, the other is lefty. He tells Vicky Benny was buried in the bushes when she pushed him, and the twin hiding in the torture table storage space fell down at the exact moment, making it appear Benny was transported. A simple trick. Vicky can't believe this minor illusion trick she saw in a neighboring country was seen through by a brat. Jack thinks illusion tricks are minor in a world with spiritual spiritual arts. A twin's trick of making someone disappear isn't big enough. He suggests Vicky ask Benny and his twin if they were tracking and reporting locations. They couldn't talk, but Benny remembered all their conversations after the switch. Jack believes the spiritual art that communicated is the 3 arrows of transcendent wisdom, which lets users share their psyche. Benny's twin must have used it to communicate their location. Vicky gets annoyed, calling it easy. She angrily throws her right hand at Jack. He says once he's persuaded one twin, it's easy to persuade the other. Jack dodges. Vicky shouts why it matters if 1 or 2 informants are missing. She screams it's easy to find 10 kids wandering aimlessly. Jack says they should take the usual route. He asks Vicky, who is shaking from anger, if she couldn't transport herself immediately. How did she appear in the hallway after the search? There's only one answer. She exited from a door they didn't know existed. The storeroom was smaller than on the map when they entered. The instantaneous transfer trick is easy to solve from that guess. He confirms that's her void hole, a hidden passage. Fien's rats mapped it for him, and the kids escaped through her void hole. If Vicky had told her men about the hidden passage, they might have been caught by now, but he thinks she wanted to make herself look big with small tricks, so that would be impossible. He asks if he's right and calls her spiritual master Bloody Leopard. Vicky shakes her head and says a guy like him with his talent can't understand how hard keeping ruffians together is. Why is making herself big wrong? Vicky shouts. Jack says it's fine. He's just uninterested. He doesn't care about her situation and asks how many people she has killed, how many children's limbs she has amputated, under what conditions she should be allowed to do that. He appears behind Vicky and says she wouldn't be allowed to do that while he remembers his sister's clinginess. He creates clones and attacks with wings of desertion, but Vicky blocks. He attacks again, hoping she never reincarnates. Vicky is overpowered when their swords clash. Jack thinks it's time. Vicky is shocked. After escaping this fort, everyone tells Vicky to stop wasting time. Jack attacks again, thinking he's killed his sister twice and wants Vicky gone to prevent more people like her from being born. He is about to slash her, but she confuses him. He doubts she stopped his blow just because she bounced off. Vicky rages that this is absurd. She never thought she'd have to use this move against Jack. She feels humiliated and says she doesn't attack kids. She shouts humiliation and grabs brass knuckles. Jack sees them and can't believe she survived the attack. He gains speed with wings of desertion as Vicky prepares to fight. He thinks she's fast, but he's too fast to catch. He is hit by something that breaks his bones and knocks him down. He pants and stops. Fien goes to check on him. He wonders what happened. Blood escapes his mouth after vomiting, and he pants, wondering if he's dying. Vicky asks Jack what he said, if he wanted to tell her. She asks if he enjoyed fighting when everything went as planned, if he thought he could win or had won while playing with an adult and made her look stupid. She asks if he thought she was weak and tells him to remember one thing. Menacingly, she says this is her pride. She asks if he was a talented kid, possibly a genius. They live in a sad world where she is 20 years older than him. Jack says nothing and thinks reincarnation is better because memories are not erased. There are faster enemies than him in this world. He claims to know more about the world than a typical 7-year-old, but without it, he's just a 7-year-old. 10-year-olds are prodigies, 15-year-olds are gifted, and individuals over 20 should be able to use spiritual arts. However, he believes he is a normal person just with the skin of a child prodigy. He stands up to fight after Vicky tells him to come at her. He recalls being taught that instead of being blinded by his own gifts, he should stop making excuses and use his sword and power to hurt others and feel more pain and suffering, with this new life as his foundation. He promises to beat her. He believes his strength is fading and nausea worsening. The best thing is to take Fien and flee, but Vicky wants a fight in blood. He worries again that looking at her eyes will destroy him. These eyes indicate their soul cannot be saved, ensuring Vicky will pursue and kill him. He believes the only solution is to end it there and fight for his life, just like with his younger sister. He feels this way for the first time in 6 years. He contemplates how she will proceed. She only used her knuckle. He wonders how she parried his sword attack and reacted to his fast movement. He fights again, gathering every piece of information. He jumps around Vicky with wings of desertion, but Vicky notices and punches the air with suppressing mark of Tiger's Denver. He nearly gets hit, but avoids it with unrestrained translucent wings. He tries to hit Vicky from behind, but she blocks. He is open now. Vicky suggests he get more training. She explains suppressing Mark of Tiger's Den connects 2 points of spiritual arts, and after the impact, the opponent feels shocked, like being hit by a heated hammer, even though she hit with her fist. Vicky is calm and thinks she's stronger, but the body moves in strange ways, so she's not assuming. She also believes the human body has limits and can't wait for that time. Jack is blocked again by Vicky's knuckles. Vicky believes she will intercept Jack's thin blade at the right time, taking time and effort but deceiving him like a fox. She thinks Jack will drop with one good strike, so she wants to kill him next. Jack feels powerless, so Vicky thinks suppressing Mark of Tiger's Den is only for dominance. Jack assumes Vicky is right and wonders what to do next. He finds it hard to avoid and break through. He doesn't have enough power to overwhelm Vicky and wonders what to do. Vicky realizes she can stay calm by smiling in front of Jack. She knows if she loses her temper again, she will lose, and she can't let her guard down because Jack is a kid, so she will kill her emotions and deal with him peacefully. Vicky tells Jack he had guts to leave her and fly away. She calls him a coward and threatens to crash him down, leaving him with minced meat. Jack tells her not to worry as he stops and attacks while shouting not to run away. His midair turn worries Vicky, who can't believe it. Jack shouts and tries a flying attack. Vicky stays calm and smiles because her fist is the strongest. She strikes the sword with her knuckle, causing a loud, deafening sound, and asks what happened. She knows Jack is adding weight to slightly increase the attack, but this is too much. She feels like his attack has multiplied. Vicky wonders if Jack learned her fist trick, though connecting the dots makes it clear, says Jack. He asks Vicky if she's growing her fist. He says she created the exit with Zetsu Sakiki no Kutsu. Vicky discovers Zetsu no Kutsu is the trick. Increase only the exit and what splits and emerges. She claims the splits will disappear in seconds, but she managed a dozen punches with this secret trick. She can hit her opponent at any speed. The trick is double-edged. Her opponent suffers many folds of damage, and her backlash also multiplies. Jack's attacks were like so. 0 multiplied by a number is 0, but adding Jack's weight to this number turns 1 into 0, but adding Jack's weight to his attack turns 0 into 1, and 1 multiplied by a number can push her back. Jack then tells Vicky he wants to see what will break first, his sword or her fist. He jumps to attack her again, kicking the air and thrusting at Vicky, who wonders how. Jack's attack misses her, leaving him open. He attacks upward again, but Vicky blocks. She blocks repeatedly. Vicky feels strange after the constant attack. She questions how Jack is kicking the sky like that and if he's really using his spiritual art. She realizes he would have used it sooner if that was the case. She wonders why he didn't use this method earlier if it takes time. Preparing to reach the sky is a foothold. After careful observation, she realizes it's not the sky. She spots a flock of crows. She didn't realize Jack was using the crows as a foothold and remembers the crow attacks on her crew. She realizes Fien's power. Vicky punches Fien and she gets hit. Jack shouts Fien's name and calls Vicky out. He is defenseless as Vicky laughs evilly and punches him multiple times. He was hurt because he lost his composure and didn't deflect. Vicky tells him she struggled even though she pulled her trump card as he pants on the ground. She says Jack is strong and injured her right hand a lot, but she hesitates to say so. At such a young age, Jack would be useful in the Crimson Cats, so she asks him to join. Jack refuses and asks if she wants to see him beg. He realizes he can't move. Vicky says he guessed right. He would make a good thief for noticing. She crouches and says she heard about a spiritual art that erases weight. It also negates physical attacks. She lights a torch and asks if it can nullify fire. She'll roast both arms well done, making his proud spirit technique difficult. Vicky counts down 3, 2, 1. However, Jack is abruptly called to look above by Fien. He looks up and sees no crows. Then it dawns on him. Eagles with ropes replace the crows. He wonders what the eagles are lifting. The eagles drop a sword, which lands hard and sends Vicky and Jack flying. Both fall in the aftermath. Jack wonders what has happened. As smoke clears the area, a sword appears, and he questions its nature. The blade is not scarlet nor golden. It has a mysterious color like a morning glow. Since the sword is not made of iron, gold, silver, bronze, or jade, he wonders what it's made of. In response, Vicky mockingly asks if this is real. The morning glow color is that of the Ken, the heaviest metal, says Vicky. This legendary metal is worth 100 times gold. She claims she can live lavishly for decades with that sword. Jack describes the Ken, the heaviest metal, considering its meteorite-like fall and normal sword appearance and size. He wonders how heavy it is. Jack somehow rises. He thinks only one spirit user in this world can lighten the sword this much and have it carried by a group of eagles. This is Rael's gift, as she said it would strengthen him. He slowly approaches the meteor-fell sword. Vicky laughs and asks if he'll use it. She says he can't erase the weight limit with his spirit technique, but dropping it from the sky makes it a weapon. Jack approaches and grabs it. His strength slowly pulls it out, shocking Vicky. She is amazed by his act as he holds the sword up just like he upgraded. She is too scared as he slowly approaches. She sees Andrea Loft's true spirit supporting Jack. Vicky recoils and shockingly asks if Andrea Off's roost is him. She says it's impossible and wonders why Jack needed it. Jack asks why, of all things, he asks about karma and cause and effect. Evildoers like her will suffer, he says, calling her a thief. In response, she calls him brilliant. She attacks angrily, calling him a genius. Jack has one shot. His body is running out. Vicky uses Zetsusei no Koku to punch Jack from all sides. In response, Jack uses Subak Kurami and slashes her. Following that, Jack loses his balance, and Fien screams his name in concern. Vicky believes she took him down. Therefore, she punches with her knuckle. Jack responds with Sudachi no Toyoku, a release technique. Right wing form Subakur, left wing form Shinten no. The wings aren't enough for this hunting technique, which is movement. Jack wants something that can eat and swallow his prey so sharp. He says a giant bird can swallow flames when the stolen beak returns. He cuts Vicky with his fire eater beak. Vicky pants and says she wasn't smiling. She wasn't in control. In an instant, her left arm is cut and blood spews out from the pain. Vicky makes a sound and loses balance, falling. Jack kneels and drops the sword from exhaustion. He claims his hand hurts after the fight. Fien asks if he is okay. He says he simply twisted his hands when he returned the sword's weight for a moment in the attack. He asks if she's okay as she also got hit. Fien says she's fine and is more worried about him. He calls her an idiot and tells her not to touch him. He gets a cute apology from Fien. He pats her head and says she has a long way to go. Rael appears and lands slowly, her presence making them happy. Jack would have avoided hand twisting if he had adjusted the sword's weight, Rael says. She says his handling is still sloppy. Jack questions the first word she says when she sees him, asking if she's really worried about them. After Rael hits him in the head, Jack asks what she's doing. Rael shouts that she was worried about them both. She quickly hugs them and cries, saying she's so glad they're okay. After she warns them to be careful, they try to save the others. Jack cries and apologizes to his master. He apologizes again and says he's deeply considering it. Rael is confused when Jack tells her they have a gift and thanks her for the sword. He gives her butterfly jewelry. Rael asks why they're giving her this. Fien tells her Jack had said her hair was beautiful and it was a waste she didn't wear ornaments. Jack is flabbergasted that Fien broke her promise not to say anything like that. Rael is thrilled with the cute gift while they argue. Someone nearby says they want to kill the bad insect now. The three keep talking as he shoots an arrow at a blazingly fast speed. It darts towards Jack. Rael and Fien dash to save him, though he pushes them backward. The arrow lands clean in his back, and he is sent spiraling toward a tree. Rael and Fien quickly check on Jack, but he stands the arrow in him and says that was fast just now. Both are relieved by his safety. He says she's so strict when Rael says that was 0.3 seconds, 0.1 seconds slower than ideal speed. Fien points at the guy and tells Rael he shot them. After examining the person, Jack suggests he may be a crimson cat. The man aims the arrow towards his mouth like a maniac. The three are uneasy as the man commits suicide with the arrow. Jack wonders what happened as the guy collapses. Vicky is absent in a tunnel. She tries to escape, furious, asking herself why someone like her had to flee. She pants from fatigue and her wounds. She's furious that Benny and Vinny betrayed her despite being technique slaves. She says she'll kill them all, but it's not enough. Furthermore, she claims reclaiming what was stolen is insufficient. She wonders about all these tree roots. She screams in shock at the unfamiliar area, stumbling on a tree root. She tells the men looking at her that they came at a good time and to help her. She's afraid and tells them not to lust after her. They're out of control. She screams for them to stop, screams that she's sorry, and screams that she'll fix her mistakes, but her screams fade. After all that, the sun rises. Troops and parents protect their children. Callum informs Jack that all the Crimson Cats have committed Jack, frightened, asks why. Callum doesn't know, saying there's no way to find out now that they're all dead. Jack agrees to a gag order when Callum urges him not to discuss this. After that, Jack says the Crimson Cats are dead. The gag order, as his father said, was enforced, but people will talk. He explains a rumor that a 7-year-old boy and girl killed the Crimson Cats reached the Royal Academy of Spiritual Arts within hours. He says 1 year has passed since they were destroyed. While riding in a carriage with Jack, Fien exclaims there are many people. Jack says Rad's capital is huge. He and Fien are visiting to enroll in the Royal Academy of Spiritual Arts. He's now 9. A Liber family mansion resident asks if the academy scouted him. Jack says after hearing they killed the Crimson Cats, Fien and he were accepted, he into combat, she into intelligence. Rael was also assigned to teach at the academy despite being a nomad. Rael must teach noble children, but he hesitates as she was traveling to collect spiritual arts. Jack asks Rael if it's okay. The academy is ideal. Fien asks if she doesn't want to stay with them, and Rael agrees. Rael will only teach when Fien and Jack are in the academy if they offer, so the three will start this new life together next spring. Jack examines the Royal Academy of Spiritual Arts, which leads to spiritual art success. At Fien's request, Jack asks Callum about something. Callum says it's the entrance exam assembly hall, officially the combat arena. Jack says the academy has a grade level exam. A good grade makes one stand out and boosts their family name. He didn't expect it to be so crowded inside. Fien is amazed. Rael explains most children were admitted after winning letters of recommendation from their master. Kids like Jack and Fien are rare. Fien excitedly asks if she and Jack are amazing. Jack says maybe. Rael knocks them on their heads and warns them not to get carried away. She tells them she'll get the paperwork done while Callum says they'll greet the people and orders them to change in the locker room. Jack obeys and recoils. He replies that he knows when Rael warns him not to get lost, suggesting a nearby map. He promises not to get lost, so she shouldn't treat him like a child. After that, everyone leaves, but Jack and Fien get lost, which panics him. He angrily tells Fien not to look at him. He doesn't understand the map and finds the place confusing. So Fien suggests using a spirit art to jump and asks if he knows the direction. He replies it will be much faster to go to the other side by using the garden as a shortcut. Therefore, Fien gets on Jack, and he tells her to hold on tight as they execute the plan. After that, Jack jumps from the window using wings of desertion. He lands on another building's window, and they see something lightly embarrassing, a girl changing. She feels incredibly embarrassed because they came in suddenly, shouting and covering her body. She's much older compared to Fien, but Jack has already seen Rael's body, so this is not enough to enchant him. The girl panics and throws him outside using a spiritual art, then apologizes for thinking at the wrong time. She looks out the window but sees them floating safely. Jack, not knowing the right words, compliments the first thing he sees, which makes her angry. After a while, the girl angrily says she knows she opened the window, but they used a spirit art to enter. She claims she knows she's partially to blame, but Jack thinks she's acknowledging her fault even though they were mostly at fault. He apologizes, saying he thought the room was empty. Fien apologizes too. The girl says she will forgive them this time and that it was her oversight. After forgetting to introduce herself, she introduces herself as Igia Austin IX, the second daughter of Austin Duke. Jack says he's a new student too and introduces himself as Jack Liber. Fien clings to Jack and introduces herself as Fien Postford. When Igia asks about his sister, she asks Fien if they're engaged. She angrily says no, she's Jack's wife. Jack asks Fien what she's afraid of, and she says Igia is her enemy per her intuition. Fien says yes when Igia asks if they're dating. Fien jealously yells that Jack is only hers, and they've done many things together. This embarrassingly prompts Igia to say they're still children, so surely it's no big deal. Fien aggressively shouts that they kiss occasionally, shocking Igia. Jack stops Fien from talking when Igia goes silent. Igia embarrassedly calls it indecent and says he forced his finger on her. She believes Jack kissed her mouth too. After an awkward moment, Igia apologizes for showing her ugly sight. She tells them they're equally responsible for trying to straighten Fien's words and asks which branch of the family they were raised by. Jack tells her their master is Rael. After looking at Fien, Igia replies she has never heard that name and asks if it's a freelancer master. Igia makes makes some accusations, and Fien pouts and says she's wrong. The academy scouted them. Ijia says she won't reject that method, but they'll regret enrolling without talent. She says young spirit art users from across the country attend and are strong. She tells Jack she's enrolling this year and asks if he didn't hear of him. The third Windsor Prince is the most talented person ever, according to Ijia. That person has accomplished much as a spirit user and is called the Genius Prince. Fien and Jack are running in the city and apologize to Rail for being late. Jack considers why they were late when Rail asks. He tells her a lot has happened. Rail tells them to do their best, be careful, and leave. She says the combat competency exam is coming up. The exam hall has 4 stages. New students will fight an old student who is the test examiner. Emily O'Hara will be broadcasting live using the Hymn of Purity Sound's spirit art. Fien asks if they're fighting for real and if someone gets hurt. Rail replies she has briefly examined this and will clarify. She says the bloodless battle arena nullifies killing or wounding inside the barrier. Some people don't bleed or get hurt from sword wounds. Poisoning only paralyzes. She adds spiritual power can't protect someone in a bloodless battle. It can only take so much damage. When spiritual power is low, the body enters an outstate element and prioritizes spiritual power by immobilizing. Rail explains in this competency test, the match is settled when someone enters an element outstate or surrenders. Fien asks Jack about spiritual power and element out. He says in short, one can fight with all his might without worrying about anyone getting hurt. Emily calls everyone's attention to start the test. She adds they have a flame god Amaterasu school student. On the 4th exam, Ijia Austin scored 3. Jack and Fien are shocked. Emily says the exam is from grade 6 to 1, and anyone from 6 to 4 can take it without academy permission. Ijia is taking grade 3, which Jack finds amazing. Fien jealously asks how strong grade 3 students are. Rail asks if she remembers Vicky, the Crimson Cat woman they fought a year ago. She heard Vicky was a grade 4 spirit user. Fien understands and says Vicky was strong. Rail says she was using Zetsu Nosu to hide her weakness. Jack lost to Vicky despite being a spirit perch due to her grade 3. Fien says Ijia is stronger than Vicky. The crowd cheers for Ijia taking grade 3, saying it's typical of the Austin family. They complain Ijia isn't good enough for grade 2, but no master has produced a grade 2 candidate in years. Grade 2 is difficult. The only candidate is the 3rd prince of the Windsor family, the Genius Prince, who will enroll this year. Rail and Fien overhear, but Emily starts the test immediately. Emily says it's a courtesy when Ijia does an emote with a relaxed stance. Ijia's match begins with the opposing boy calling her a student. He shouts he has been in grade 3 for a long time and studies more than her. He attacks with Jenna N, promising with this technique it'll shred even her dress. Ijia has a technique of her own and replies with Rei Me no Tomoe, repelling the attack since she tanked water with fire. She says it's an illusion menacingly. She tells the boy to graduate in his diapers, then hits him hard with fire. Emily ends the match and declares Ijia Austin the winner. Jack marvels at the match and says this is where people like her gather. He asks Rail if she mentioned this earlier. She tells him talented and hardworking people are common here. She says no one will praise him for dabbling. Emily announces the 3rd stage, Ruby Berkson, 8th Don Josiah Birkin student, and her exam grade is 3. A crowd member asks if it's Ragpicker Berkson. A lady defends that the girl got permission from the traditional academy for this exam. Another guy says they should throw garbage. Jack thinks about Ragpicker Berkson after hearing the name. Rail says Ethdon Berkson is known for teaching vagrants and slum dwellers. Their students are talented, so nobles who value lineage and tradition hate them. Jack comments it's a meritocratic school. He thinks Ruby's strong self-assertion means she's proud of being from the slums. It conveys her troubled personality too well. Emily starts the match. A boy and Ruby fight. The boy uses wind-based Tengu no Ashen to attack first. Jack realizes it's a wind spiritual art activated without moving. Ruby screams in pain after the move. Jack thinks this is bad. The boy prepares another move, saying she blocked her own vision. He looks at Ruby confusedly. Suddenly, he shouts she's gone. Ruby appears and stabs him in the neck, saying she was just playing. Emily declares Ruby the winner after the boy falls. Jack wonders what spirit art Ruby used and realized she manipulated the boy into thinking his attacks work. He thinks she's tough. Ruby yawns from the boring fight. Emily says the next competitor is 9th Dawn Denol Bassett student. Fien exclaims he's so huge. The competitor is Go McDonald, who scored 3. Jack says he's big, and Fien wonders if he's really 9. Emily says another grade 3 examinee, so this New Year's students are good. An ordinary-looking man in a suit faces Go. Something hits Go's armor unexpectedly. Emily says it's a spirit art that manipulates soil and stone and has caught Go. Jack praises this creative use. He realizes rotating the stone grain quickly chainsaws Go. Despite knowing Go's armor, Jack is still in danger. Go looks fine and comfortable. Jack finds it odd. The competitor gets angry because his armor is unharmed after that much damage. Jack notices Go's armor keeps getting repaired like new even though it's chipped. He can't believe Go is okay after the attack, so he wonders if that's his spiritual art. The guy doubts Go's spirit art is to blame. He thinks Go is using it to repair his armor, but the armor doesn't block all damage, so something else may be keeping him safe. After the attack, the boy rushes to Go, promising to reveal his trick. In response, Go quickly slashes the running boy's head with his sword. Emily announces Go McDonald the winner. Rail tells Jack it's his turn. He stands up to fight while Fien wishes him luck. He walks with Rail in the tunnel. He learns from her that he has grown stronger in the years since the Crimson Cat incident and won't lose to anyone. He is motivated and smiles when she proudly tells him to show the world his existence. He enthusiastically says yes. Emily announces the second stage and adds it's Jack Lee Bear, which Igia recognizes. She feels shy realizing it's the person who changed her. After wishing him luck, she wonders if she should watch. She realizes Jack's master is still unnamed and suspects a grade 5 or 6 exam. Emily stops announcing Jack's name after noting a script error. She asks for forgiveness and promises to reintroduce Jack. She announces Jack Lee Bear on the second stage and stops before saying his exam grade. She exclaims about grade 2 attracting tough competitors. The crowd gasps, and the genius prince laughs after hearing it. Someone's presence is laughing hysterically, saying everyone is fussing after hearing Jack's name in grade 2, which is expected. A rural Lieber family is the first to challenge a grade 2 exam in years. The nobles are frustrated, saying something out of jealousy. It bets the president is ecstatic. It wants everyone to watch and not blink because its brother Jack is the best, strongest, and coolest after all. Emily claims this is the first grade 2 examinee in several years, so this match will be a spotlight and starts the fight. In the fight, the boy immediately attacks with Zetsu no Kutsu. Jack realizes he can teleport his body, so he considers him a grade 1 practitioner. The boy dodges backward as Jack grabs his sword. The boy instantly teleports backward and attacks with a dagger, but Jack dodges. The boy keeps attacking from all angles. Jack says his grade 2 exam expectations, but he wins by dodging. He immediately slashes the boy several times with a sword to defeat him because he didn't understand. Emily declares Jack the winner as the crowd cheers. From the stands, Igia wonders what happened. The examiner disappeared, but Jack disappeared differently, as if he cut it while slipping through the body. According to Igia, she knows it must be based on advanced, complex, and elaborate spiritual arts, but she doesn't know how. She thought Jack was in grade 5 or 6, but now thinks he's great. He could be her rival. Someone asks another if he knows that firewood is needed to start a fire. Emily announces Elvis Coons Windsor on stage 2 and his exam grade is 2, making Jack take a double take. The crowd murmurs when Jack exits the tunnel near the stage. He recalls this as the person of whom Igia mentioned, Elvis Coons Windsor, the genius prince, the third prince of the Windsor family. Emily reluctantly starts the match, and it's quiet. Elvis instantly summons a spirit behind him, shocking everyone. Jack realizes it's a spirit avatar and finds his match. He believes he found a fellow spiritual perch. Emily shouts the stage is lively. Jack hears a voice and wonders who it is. Elvis is talking to the spirit named Payman, telling her he had a competency exam today. Payman apologizes for a while. Jack wonders if it's the spirit talking. Payman happily exclaims in that case she'll want to settle this quickly. She destroys the stage and the boy struggles to stand. The crowd is in disbelief as he struggles to breathe after the match. Emily declares Elvis Coons Windsor the winner. Payman joyfully shouts. Emily says it's his whim, and Elvis says he knows and asks Payman to lower their voice. Payman says their job is done and leaves. Elvis moves gracefully towards the tunnel. Jack questions his actions with a human-type spirit of unknown gender. The 9th elemental caste, Payment of Mayhem, watches. Jack says Rael told him not to reveal he is a spirit perch because it could cause trouble, and on top of that, he didn't use his Akatsuki sword in the fight. Elvis the prince didn't hide his power, as if to say he won't run away. Some days later, Fien runs towards Jack in a house, saying acceptance letters have arrived. He pets her head and says she's amazing when she exclaims she'll be in intelligence class. She asks about his result, and he tears open the letter. It says he passed grade 2 and will be in combat S class. Hearing that, Callum shouts the class is amazing. Jack asks if that's true, and Callum says only talented students are placed there. He believes the class existed only once in recent years. Fien hugs Jack and calls him amazing. Callum wants to celebrate tonight, but warns them not to overdo it on a random day. In Jack's past life, his sister cries for help as their old friend terrorizes her. Jack asks what happened while holding the girl behind her. Spirits are high today, so she playfully calls him an intruder. With his sister enrolled, the three can eliminate the school, and Jack asks what she wants to do, questioning if she's watching too much historical drama. The girl says she got busted. She comforts Jack's sister and tells her to stop crying. From today, she could attend school with Jack. She asks what's the matter, if she's worried about making friends. Jack's sister says she may seem boring and gloomy and asks what she should do. Jack says she needs to forgive herself. He tells her to tell herself she's fine and it's okay the way she is, so whenever she wants to talk to others or do something, forgive herself. He adds it might be difficult at first, but she'll get the hang of it and be able to do anything. His sister happily says she understands and thanks Jack. In the present, Jack and Fien attend the academy. Fien hugs Jack and compliments the uniform, but he tells her to stop, to consider the time and place. She asks if she can climb on him like a jungle gym if they're alone. Both go to their classes. Jack opens the door and sees familiar faces. He realizes they will be his S-class combat classmates. He tells Igia she is in this class and they should get along. Meanwhile, Igia glares at him in anger. She confronts him, accusing him of spending the night in a room with another woman just the other day, and to make matters worse, they've been all over each other since morning. How shameless he can be. Jack firmly expresses the accusation of being all over each other is ridiculous, clarifying Phil was like a little sister. He feels a surge of frustration as he adds almost defensively the real issue lies with the other person's shameless mind constantly suspecting non-existing relationships. Igia shouts back she is not like that. However, Ruby steps in and asks Jack if she hung out with a woman. She observed the smirk, noting the description of a skilled fighter with incredible speed often seen with a woman had caught her attention. She recalled thinking about it during the exam and now felt certain it had to be them, the ones who supposedly took down the Crimson Cats. Jack downplays the situation, thinking the rumors were wildly exaggerated and inconsistent. Ruby understands how such tales spread and reintroduces herself as Ruby Buren. Jack also introduces himself. They talk about stealing her name, but she exclaims a name like hers, Ruby, won't be stolen. She announces she got her last name from her master. Suddenly, Igia bursts into anger and yells at Jack for hitting on Ruby. They both try to calm her, telling her they were just talking. Igia gets more frustrated and blames Ruby for wearing a revealing costume, saying that kind of clothing isn't allowed. Ruby exclaims it's her choice to wear whatever she wants, and no one ever told her not to. Mr. Knights tells them they are very noisy and to calm down. Ruby gets frustrated and shouts at him not to order her around, to mind his own business. It's shown G has a background of a knight and is very good at magic prowess. His pride is through the roof because of being a knight. Ruby shouts at him for saying he didn't find out when she stole his wallet, and when he found out it was empty. He backfires, saying she is a low-life criminal, and his pride as a knight can't be driven down just by money. He exclaims he made a mistake trying to make a slum lord understand the lofty ideals of a knight. Igia tries to calm them both, and Jack appreciates her character, saying she is a good girl. Suddenly, Elvis steps in and says good morning. Meanwhile, Jack questions himself that Elvis is in S-Class too. Elvis approaches Go and he bows after introducing himself as Go McDonald, eldest son of the McDonald family. Elvis gets embarrassed and tells Go to lift his head. He tells everyone not to treat him as a prince and to be more casual. Suddenly, Ruby gets excited and shakes Elvis, telling him to get along since he is here too. She weirdly asks if he can buy bread for her. Suddenly, the head of the academy comes in and tells everyone to shut up and take their seats. Ruby asks about her, and Elvis tells her she is the strongest sorcerer and head of the academy. Her name is Tula. Ruby is shocked when she realizes Tula is 30 years old. She proudly announces she is more than 400 years older and is an elf, which is why she stopped growing and remains small. Ruby rudely tells her she looks pretty important, but what the hell is she doing here? She accuses Ruby of being rude. Igia steps in and holds her hand, telling her 50 years ago an ancestor could be traced back to her so she could receive direct guidance. She tries to avoid her and says she has other duties too. Rail steps inside and introduces herself as the teacher's assistant. Igia tells Jack Rail is his mentor's name too. He tells her not to remind him. Meanwhile, Elvis is very happy an elf is their homeroom teacher. Ruby exclaims it holds much greater significance than their classes. She explains students in this classroom hold ranks from 1st to 6th grade and will conduct league matches within each rank. The league consists of 2 terms per year, each lasting half a year. Achieving a winning rate of 70% in a term leads to promotion, while below 25% for 2 consecutive terms faces demotion. Those who meet promotion criteria at 1st grade can participate in a promotion match for a chance to achieve 1st rank. If they achieve 1st rank, they become a fledged member of a mage guild, an absolute requirement of the academy. If not, they will be expelled. Ruby raises her hand and asks how many people graduate, as according to the condition it doesn't make sense. She announces only 10% manage to graduate successfully. If they graduate and raise ranks, they will be sponsored and noticed by many people and respected. However, not everyone participates because they think it's a waste of time. Although 1st rank is the lowest tier for a mage, it's comparable to a normal citizen with no understanding of hardship. Jack thinks about this, and not just him. Everyone in the room thinks about their future. Tula announces she will train the S-class candidates, though she lets them off with a warning. Children filled with groundless confidence devouring each other. Only those who survive acquire strength. She tells them as long as they don't forget their experience, everything will be fine and survive until graduation. There will be a banquet in the evening. Clive taunts her, saying she just wants to eat meat. Jack asks Elvis about that old man, and he announces his name is Clive Cruz, the director's husband. Igia panics, knowing her fire isn't meant to cook meat. Ruby gets defensive, understanding her stake is at stake. Go tells Elvis this food is not suitable for him. He tells Go to try some too. On the other hand, Tula yells and drinks beer. She tells Jack his mother was a princess who lived in the mountains, but she heard someone persuaded and brought her back and made her his wife. Suddenly, her mood switches. She starts shouting at her husband that he did the same thing to her as when he was stalking her. Igia asks about their marriage and why they got married. She tells her he was mistaken, then narrates his story. When he came here, he didn't know she was a teacher, and before he realized, it was too late. He had already given her a bouquet. She announced he used to give her flowers every time, and when he didn't have enough money, he sold his uniform to collect money for a new bouquet. He was embarrassed and exclaimed he was a child at the time, and selling his belongings wasn't the only way to raise money. She tells her she made a mistake, and she also has to be careful not to hit on her students. Jack and Rail look at each other. She smiles and refuses, but Jack knows what she's thinking. Tula laughs, saying even adults have been wooed by a 12-year-old. Taking a break from the adults, he rubs his head, wondering how he had patience with them. Then, Fien tackles him and exclaims she messed up. Jack looks at the table and notices she has eaten everything. She points at Igia and claims she ate everything. Ruby, Go, Elvis, and the wannabe noble stand beside each other. Elvis asks if they are from a class. However, Igia gets frustrated again and asks why she's being badmouthed. Everyone starts yapping and arguing for no reason. The scene shifts to Elvis telling Jack he was really surprised seeing Jack win a match, then says he is praising him and asks if he is strong. Jack tells him he is strong and will surely risk his life to save others. He has no doubts Elvis is strong and has a desire to fulfill his duties. He asks if Elvis is strong too with an angry look, though Elvis also praises him and says he is strong too, asking if Jack is relieved now. Jack says he really isn't. Elvis tells him he is remarkably strong, to the extent he is considered a beast. Then he asks if he or him is stronger. Jack narrates at that moment he knew they were both going to clash because of their strength. Suddenly, a cat approaches them excitedly. Fien crawls towards the cat. Sergi slips off Ruby, claiming they can't have 2 stray cats. Elvis says it's fine, as the cat must have approached by smelling food, and he gives it raw meat. Jack tells him if he gives food, it will come back. He responds if it comes back, they'll feed it again. Jack says if he is willing to take responsibility, he doesn't have a problem. Go and Igia start talking about whether there will be a problem taking a stray cat into the dormitory. Suddenly, Tula yells it doesn't matter and they should take care of it. Elvis announces it's decided. The scene shifts to the next day. Ruby and their homeroom teacher stand in front of a board. Then the match starts between Ruby and Go. The scene shifts to the arena where everyone eagerly spectates the match. The atmosphere is excited, but Igia expresses concern, saying it's hard to go against friends. Elvis responds it's much easier to fight each other. Jack looks around and thinks it feels much bigger for a fight like this with too many spectators. Emily takes the commentator role, introducing both players with enthusiasm, cheering everyone to get excited. Ruby and Go face each other, ready to take stances. On the sidelines, Emily and Tula commentate. As the match starts, Ruby quickly uses magic to disappear. Emily hypes her move, excited as Ruby vanishes. Surprisingly, Go throws his shield down, and everyone gasps as it melts upon hitting the ground. Emily comments on this unexpected turn. Both she and Tula realize Go has a clever plan. He used this technique to track Ruby, and now it seems to work as Ruby is caught in the melting liquid. Ruby struggles to get out, running in circles to escape, but suddenly speeds towards Go. Jack is amazed at her speed. She manages to hit Go from behind, though he quickly swings his sword to strike her down just in time. She stops his attack, showcasing skill. Meanwhile, Igia leans over to Jack, asking what happened. Jack thinks aloud Go must be wearing something special underneath. They soon realize Go is wearing armor. Elvis turns to Jack, asking if he noticed anything from the start. Ruby attacks with all her might, but is unable to damage him as Go's clothes rip off. Igia notices he has scales underneath, likely protecting him. Go then attacks Ruby with the sword, though she is intelligent and skilled enough to dodge, avoiding serious injury. Emily and Tula describe the battle to the audience. Igia stands, commenting the situation looks bad for Ruby, asking Tula if she agrees, seeking her opinion on whether it's right for Go to use such armor. Tula explains similar things will happen to everyone in battles to come. She dramatically describes the battle, emphasizing every freshman must go through this experience and not exploit their weakness, because those can be used against them. As Igia observes, she notices the audience looks familiar, making it hard to tell who might be spying. Tula continues her speech, telling students being strong is a natural state in this academy. They must learn to demonstrate strength effectively. Meanwhile, Jack listens, growing frustrated with her words. She encourages everyone to feel free to probe each other's intentions, making competition fiercer. The scene shifts back to the battle where Go finally stabs Ruby. It is narrated at this point the outcome was decided. The announcer declares Go analyzed Ruby's tactics and learned how she fought. Now he has beaten her, claiming victory as Ruby lies on the ground. The scene shifts to her encounter with Jack, and everyone starts telling each other they are going to leave. In a nearby room, Igia and Jack argue. Igia asks if Jack already knew about Go's strength before the fight, then why didn't he tell her? He exclaims he did know and doesn't want to deny that. He insists it's not like they dislike Igia or Ruby. In response, Igia reveals she understands everything going on, then asks Jack and Fien when they started hanging out. Both laugh playfully, saying who knows. The tension shifts slightly as they share lightheartedness. A fight is about to start in the arena between Elvis and another student. The atmosphere is electric. Emily and Tula comment as they order fighters to start. As the fight begins, both charge forward with great speed. They quickly notice something strange. Everything happens so fast. They swing weapons, trying to slash each other, but Elvis, displaying immense power, easily dodges all attacks. Meanwhile, Ruby watches, confusion evident. She asks why they are fighting this way and what the point is. The arena has huge symbols drawn in the sky, Elvis's magic technique. Jack can't take his eyes off it. He feels fear and confusion. It dawns on him Elvis performs all these feats with his eyes closed, adding mystery. The symbol is big enough to cover the entire arena and looks like a black magic symbol. Elvis delivers a powerful punch to his opponent's sternum, decisively winning. The commentator announces Elvis victor. Jack observes carefully, thinking Elvis is definitely not normal. He considers Elvis might have a weak point hidden beneath his powerful exterior, but Elvis kept it concealed. At that moment, Elvis's gaze shifts to the crowd, locking into Jack's eyes. He points at Jack and shouts, challenging who is stronger. Jack, feeling the charge, raises his sword, ready. The commentator seizes the opportunity, announcing both prepare to face each other in a duel. As Tula tries to hype the audience, the scene shifts. The next day, Jack and Igia head towards the basement together. Igia yells at Jack for being lazy, and he concludes maybe she is right. He has been thinking about the strange symbol and the mysterious lady behind Elvis. Curious, he wants to know more about his techniques and weaknesses. Igia responds she doesn't feel suited to prying into others' matters. As they enter a room, she puts her lantern on the table and searches for a book. Suddenly, the whole shelf comes crashing down on her. Quick on his feet, Jack catches her just in time, though in classic anime fashion, chaos ensues. Igia yells at him more, clearly frustrated. As they regain composure, Jack's eyes catch a hidden door. Intrigued, they enter. Inside, Jack discovers new books he has never seen, their spines untouched and dusty. Igia looks puzzled. She mentions he and Elvis seem to get along well in class, so she doesn't understand why he tries to find out more. He assures they aren't doing anything wrong. They just shared a meal and enjoyed time as friends. Even if they occasionally deceive each other, it's normal behavior. Igia expresses concern. She reminisces about moments sharing meals and laughter, fearing those moments are nothing more than fake lies. She admits she feels like crying inside. She warns fighting in the arena and outside could ruin their friendship. She is sad and frustrated about things they will do from now on. Just then, Jack's eyes light up as he finds the book they've been searching for, about the mysterious symbol. However, opening it, he notices it's in pieces. Pages need fitting together. Igia tells him if he finds Elvis's weakness, he shouldn't talk to her. Someday he might have to fight her too. With that, she storms out, leaving Jack to complete the pieces on the table. Her words outside claim he better clean up. Jack comments she acts like his mother. Elvis feeds the cat as Go rushes somewhere, hurried and confused. Elvis asks why he is running. Go excitedly says his next opponent has been announced. It's Jack. Elvis's face lights with happiness, as he has been waiting to fight Jack. Suddenly, they notice someone hiding in bushes. Curious, it turns out to be Ruby, who emerges to inform Jack, showing off prowess. She reveals she took Jack's wallet too. She gives advice about being a pickpocket. If looking for a gap, pay attention to where the other's gaze is. He shouts to teach him slowly next time, and she laughs. The announcement comes the explosive battle will start tomorrow. The scene shifts back to Elvis, approached by the stray cat. He asks if she's come back for more food. Elvis holds an amulet, thinking back to his youth, his mother prompting him to become stronger, prove he is the strongest. Thinking back, he promises to uphold that notion. Meanwhile, Jack practices magic. Suddenly, Fien interrupts and hugs tightly, telling him about the upcoming fight, instructing him to fight well. She is excited to motivate him. Before leaving, she kisses his cheek, and he gets excited, motivated by encouragement. He declares he will do his best to win. The scene shifts to the arena where the battle is about to happen between Elvis and Jack. They stand in front of each other, gazing intensely. On the sidelines, Jack's friends discuss. Teacher Rail appreciates Jack's kindness and power, but Igia seems confused about what the teacher means. As the fight continues, Igia explains Jack discovered Elvis's weakness and uses his techniques to gain the upper hand. The scene shifts back to the fight where Elvis defends against Jack's relentless attacks. Commentators express disbelief at the fierce exchange. Both continue throwing powerful punches at each other's faces, skilled enough to dodge. The crowd watches in awe. After a while, Elvis starts to weaken. Jack seizes the opportunity and launches another attack, leaving everyone shocked and amazed. The fight rages as both unleash magic. Elvis summons his spirit. Suddenly, a huge, strange figure appears behind Jack, resembling a bird of prey. Jack grips a massive sword, ready for whatever comes. He attacks with a slash, though Elvis blocks the strike seemingly with nothing. A sword made of pressurized air. Tension builds as the battle escalates.